Buying a house on credit score is bullshit, and credit score itself really doesn't matter. First of all, let me explain how credit scoring actually works. It's based on not just your score and you're paying your bills on time. It's also based on everybody else, right, in the country, and it's broken down by like zip code, by region, things like that. And so it's gauged. It's like a weighted average. So it's gauged against everybody else as well. So let's say that everybody in the country right now decided to not make their mortgage payments. I'm not saying to do this. I'm saying let's say everybody did that. So everybody in America missed a single mortgage payment. It drops everybody's collective credit scores, which means that it doesn't really do anything to the credit scores because it's, remember, it's a weighted average, so it goes against everybody else's as well. So in other words, let's say you had your 760 Beacon and it would drop ordinarily down to like, I don't know, 6.25. Well, okay, yeah, but then again, everybody else's did too, which means that everybody pretty much stays the same. That's how it works. So, and then the other part of credit scoring that isn't really well understood, how bankers look at this. Keep in mind, remember, most bankers don't approve any of these loans. Like you go to the old days, boomers would go into a bank. They'd hand the application to buy a house to, some other boomer. And then that guy was actually in charge of it and would say, yay or nay. Yeah, we can do this loan. We'll look at, we'll take a look at your payment history and we'll make a few phone calls for your references and make sure that you can actually make these payments. And that was it. And then that guy approved the loan. Now it goes to a computer and the computer goes to somewhere else. So even if you hand it to the guy at a bank, it goes to somewhere else. Well, where does it go? It goes to an algorithm. Right, the human decision is almost completely removed by this. They look at the house, they look at the price, they look at the zip code, they look at a bunch of other stuff. It isn't just you and your credit score. They look at all, and they also look at what you're paying for it. Because you would think like, oh, I'm getting a good deal in this house, and that's going to help out. No, actually, it's the other way around. Because remember, if that bank has loans, or if too many of those loans in that area start going down, it affects the market prices, and they want to have prices. Remember, prices have to always be going up in the banker world because they keep charging interest on everything. And just keep in mind, remember, taxes, interest, inflation, and insurance premiums are all controlled by the same exact people. Every single time, it's the same people controlling those things. And they have to have prices always going up. Because if they go down, then that means they lose a bunch of money and the people on the bottom end up collecting all of that by just being able to pick things up at a reasonable price. That's why you always have to see these apartment rents going up, these house rents, like all this stuff always has to go up. That's why it's all done by algorithm now. They look at the area, they look at the zip code, they look at the house, the deal, etc. And this is why you can have these situations where someone with like a 560 credit score, they're like, yeah, no problem, we'll go ahead and do this deal. It's because they needed to have that deal done at that time in that zip code by somebody. That's what happened. You could have had an 820 credit score. You could have had a 420 credit score, and it probably wouldn't have mattered. They would figure out a way to do that deal. For anybody who's ever bought a house in the past, you'll know what I'm talking about here. Where you're like, hey, I got this house. I'm going to buy this. My credit score is awesome. My payment history is perfect. I've got everything lined up. Here's my gigantic down payment. And then the bank they do this weird thing where they look for every reason in the world to stall the deal. Right? You ever been on that side? Because I've been on that side a couple of times where it's like, dude, there's no reason for you to be stalling this deal. Why do you need a note from my mom? Oh, now we need a note from your doctor. Like, really? Okay. Well, now we need to have, you go get this extra form from this other company. And and it's like this, it's constant. They just drag it out and drag it out and drag it out. It's because they're trying to find some way to not do that deal for whatever reason that's on their end, that's on the back end. This is why you don't make real estate or housing in particular. It's why you don't want to do this, turn it into an investment. Fucking boomers, talking to you, and all you other fucking waste of life slumlords. This is why you don't want to do this kind of stuff. You don't do these kinds of things because you actually end up ruining the country by doing so. You ruin your next 3 generations of people who don't have kids, and then your whole country's fucked. All right. I mean, that's why the conversation, remember that conversation with boomers, that's like all these boomers are going to be like, oh, we need kids to take care of us now because we're broke. And your kids are going to say, dude, fuck you. We're broke too. In fact, we're broker than you've ever been. So no, we're not taking care of you. There's no mother-in-law apartment to move you into because we can't afford to do that kind of shit. That was the 80s, dude. We can't do that now. That's long gone. So you find a bridge, find some newspapers if they still print them. I mean, like that's what's going to happen, unfortunately, to a bunch of people. because of this, because you've done this. And then on top of that, you've also flooded the country with illegals. I mean, like, this is just the way it is. And it's like, oh, but it's not the fault of the illegals. I don't give a shit what you think. Like, dude, no other third world shithole would put up with what the American people put up with. No third world shithole would put up with this. You know, so I mean, imagine if the U.S. like rounded up all the homeless out of Portland and shoved them into fucking Tijuana and said, these are your problem now. How would Mexico handle that? They'd consider that an act of war. They'd be like, oh my God, we don't want all these weird people. You know, keep Portland weird, not Tijuana weird. Yeah, that's what would happen. You know, so I mean, they would be pissed. Other countries, any other country would be pissed about it, and they'd be right to be so. Right? So Americans should be as well. Anyway, there's the credit score bullshit.